Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Dani and today's time for my November wrap-up. In November I read 6 books, which was a total of 2,161 pages. My average rating for all of them was 4, and I didn't listen to any audiobooks, or at least I didn't complete any audiobooks in November. So before I talk about the books I completed, I'm going to talk about one that I kinda DNF'd. I gave up on it a little bit, at least for now. I'm not going to finish it right now, but I might in the future. I'm still slightly interested about it, and that is Vagabond Volume 1. This is a manga which I thought would make it very easy to read, but honestly it has like 3 volumes in 1 volume, and I read the first one that is in here, and I'm honestly very confused. I don't really know what's going on. This is the story of a real life samurai. I forgot if that's what it's called here. It doesn't really say here. It says that he was a warrior philosopher. So it's telling his story from the beginning, and I was very confused. There's a lot of context here that I don't know, and I feel like if I continue the story it will get more clear, and then I will at least know like what to look up online in terms of history of Japan to know what was going on here. But for now I was just like very confused and not really wanting to pick it up. So I read the first volume, and I will in the future maybe continue it because I have the first 4 already, so I will give it a try. But for now, it's kind of a DNF. Now the first book that I actually finished in the month was, what's the name? The Mysterious Affair of Styles by Agatha Christie. This is the first Agatha Christie novel ever published, the first Hercule Poirot mystery. He's one of her detectives that appears in multiple of her books. And I really love Agatha Christie. I've read a lot of her books, but I never read them in order. And I'm kind of really interested in doing that now. So I started with the first book, the first story of this detective, which I love. He's a very unique character, you might say. He's the same one that appears in The Murder of the Orient Express, which has a movie now. It is one of my favorite books by her. And in this one, we meet him. He's already an established detective, like he's very smart, everyone knows about him, kinda. And he goes to this mansion called Styles because someone died there and people believe that it was a murder. So he goes there to investigate. And it's very interesting. A lot of the things I could not have predicted, but also like maybe if I could, I didn't. But I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm really excited to continue reading her books because, like, reading her books in order, because it's going to be really cool to see how she evolves. And I also want to read her story as well at some point while I'm reading her books. So spoiler for one of my goals moving forward with my reading and my channel, I do plan to read her books in order and as much as I can as we go, and I'm really excited about it. It's really good. That's really not much more I can say about this book, except that it is a little bit of a close-knit circle mystery in which we kind of know that one of those people that were sleeping at the house at that time was the killer, and it is narrated by one of those people who are staying in the house that knew Hercule Poirot and invited him to investigate. So it's narrated by that guy. But one thing that I like about her, at least in those more traditional mystery books by her, is that it's not trying to be too complex in a way. You're never really worried that the narrator is going to be the killer, or he's like an unreliable narrator, because nowadays you're supposed to be questioning everyone that's appearing in the book, even the detective a lot of times. So I really like this type of like more cozy mysteries in which you kind of can trust some of the people, so you just try to identify who is the killer in one of the other options. That's not the case for all of her books, but some of this more cozy mystery type of stories, that's how it goes. So I'll definitely recommend, if you like her, if you haven't read this one yet, it is a really interesting story. Also, this book is already public domain, so you can get the ebook for free online, like legally. Then the second book that I finished in the month was the buddy read on Discord, and it was Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Skyward series. It's going to be 4 books and a few novellas, 3 novellas, or 4 if you count the one that's a prequel that was released a long time ago. There's a lot of things, but this is the second book, and in this story we follow Spencer and a lot of her friends. They are training to be pilots in this futuristic other world where they live. And in the first book, she has to deal with the fact that her father is considered a coward by the people who really run the flight program. So that's one thing that she has to overcome. So she is taken seriously by the people there. And in this book, we continue her saga and we meet a lot of new characters, which was one of the things that I disliked a little bit of this book, because I really liked the cast of characters that we met in the first book, and we spend a lot of time not with them in this book, without giving spoilers, but that's one of the things that I disliked a little bit, but I still gave this 5 stars. We meet a lot of really cool characters. We continue following some of the adorable, awesome characters that we met in the first book. And there's not a lot more I can say without spoilers, but if you've read the first one and you're not sure, I would still recommend it, but I really love the first one. So if you didn't love the first one, this is a lot of the same. So I don't know. Do with that what you will. I really loved it and I do recommend it. While we're still talking about Skyward, this was the last book that I read in the month, but I'm going to talk about it here since we're in the same theme. I read Sunreach. This is the first novella in the Skyward series. It happens right as Starsight ends, so it's a direct continuation from Starsight, and it was really awesome. I think I gave it 4 stars, 4.5. Yes, it was 4.5 because it's kind of separated in two. In one part, we're following these characters that we know from since the first book, and they're doing something really cool with some other characters and creatures. Trying very hard not to say any spoilers here. And then we have a lot of the political aspect, a lot of the negotiations, and it's like very politics thing happening at that point in the book, which I usually like, but in this book I was so excited about this first part, so I didn't really want to follow this other part. If you've read it, you know what I mean, but this one is one that I would 100% recommend for anyone, but you have to read the first 2 books to read this novella. But it's really awesome. And then after I read Starsight, I discovered that I could read One Piece on my phone, paying a very cheap fee, like subscription fee, to the app that has Shonen Jump, that has the manga. And then I spent a lot of time just reading One Piece. I didn't finish the first saga yet, the first era. I don't remember what they're called, the first like whole part. But I read a lot of it for many days, and I was enjoying it a lot. I really can't exactly reveal it in my channel. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a lot of fun. I love these characters and I want to continue reading it. But I feel like after I finish like this first saga part, then I will come back and reveal it, because right now I still feel like I'm missing a lot of things, but I'm loving it. So I definitely recommend, if you're wanting to start One Piece before the TV show, which was my case. I wanted to read it before the TV show, and I found out about this app that you can pay a very cheap subscription monthly fee to read a lot of manga, not just One Piece. There's a lot of manga in there. So I would recommend, if you're looking for a way to read One Piece, because it's kind of hard to find just the comics now, like the actual physical things. So that's one thing that I did. And then at the end of the month, I had only read one of the books on my TBR, on my m&ms TBR, which was Starsight. So I pushed through the last week of the month to read all of the others that I was missing. One of them was Vagabond, which I already mentioned. The other one was Cinders and Sparrows by Stefan Bachmann. This is a middle grade fantasy about a girl she works as a housekeeper for this old woman. We never really meet this old woman, but she works as a housekeeper for her, and then she was at the garden one time, and a scarecrow jumps the fence and gives her a letter saying that she is inheriting this castle from this witch people. So she goes there because why not? And she meets a boy and a girl who work at the castle, and this mean woman who doesn't really believe that she could be a witch, so she has to prove herself as a witch so she can inherit all of the stuff that's supposed to be hers. This book makes zero sense. I didn't really like it. I gave it 2.5 stars. And I don't know, maybe for children it would be fun, but overall it's just honestly a mess. It doesn't it doesn't make any sense. Also, the main character, she doesn't do anything in the book. Like, she wasn't even needed to be in this book. She has zero agency. Like, everything just happens to her. Everything that she needs to move forward in the story is just given to her in like a dream, or she just finds it out of nowhere in the hallway, or just like everything just happens to her. She doesn't really do anything, which bothered me a lot. She's like very passive. Also, the story gets very complicated as we go. There's a lot of mysteries and like secrets, things that start to get very complicated, and a lot of magic that's not really explained. This is a standalone book, so I understand that we wouldn't be able to get a lot of explanations for everything, but I wish things would make more sense. I don't know. So I didn't like it. I wouldn't recommend it, at least not for adults. Also, there's some really dark magic things that happen here, so even for children, keep that in mind, I guess. One other thing that I didn't like about this book is that the villain is very, very predictable. I was kind of waiting the whole time to know that it was actually going to be someone else, but everything was very predictable in that sense. So it definitely was a quick read, but not a lot of fun. Next, I read one of my favorite books of the year, and one that I want to continue the series so bad. And there are so many books to read in the series, which makes me excited, but also I feel like I will never catch up. And that is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I've heard a lot about this book on BookTube, people that love it and people that really hated it, and I was a bit worried because I have the same taste for different types of books for all of these people. Also, some people who just like didn't feel like it was unique or like nothing special. I loved it. I loved it so much. I couldn't stop reading it. The audiobook's really good. I jumped between the physical book and the audiobook sometimes because I just didn't want to stop consuming the story. It was really awesome. This tells the story of Sophie. She's a normal child in our world, except that she can read people's minds, people's thoughts, and she doesn't really know what's the reason that she could do that. But at one point, she meets a boy called... what's his name? Fitz. She meets Fitz. And he tells her that she's actually an elf. And she's a very special, like, chosen one elf that has to save the world or something. Or he just tells her that she has to go with him and, like, study and be an elf. So she goes with him to this magical world. And there's a magic school and a lot of friends, a lot of people, a lot of really cool magic things. I really liked the creatures that I see here, like elves, gnomes, I don't remember, like orcs? There are a lot of other creatures here. They're not exactly what we've come to expect from this kind of creature. They're very different from what we know, but they have that name, and I really like that. I think it's unique and it gives them a little bit of what we know, but also a lot of unique things. But overall, I just felt like it was an amazing fantasy adventure story that I want to continue the series so much. On the opposite side of Cinders and Sparrows, in this one, the main character has a lot of agency. She questions everything. She really tries to do things to help, to like be part of the story, which I really enjoyed. And it also talks about, it considers her previous life a lot, which I liked, because she lives her family in our world and goes to live in this magical world, but she's always thinking about them. There's a lot of that connection still, and even going forward there will be, considering the way this book ended. So I loved it. I really loved it, and I want to continue. It was 5 stars, and it was just amazing. An amazing middle grade story. And the last book that I read in November was Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian. This is an adult thriller that is set in a college. Which college is it? Something in DC, Washington, DC. And we're following this group of students who are diagnosed as psychopaths. They are participating in this study by the psychology professor who wants to study psychopaths and understand them more and give them and help them have like a normal life, considering what they have to go through and how they see the world. But of course, things are not as easy as it seems. Right from the beginning, we see that one of the characters, one of the participants here of the study, is actually plotting to kill one person in the school that she has known for a long time. And there are other mysteries happening here because some students start to appear dead and we have to figure out who killed them. I enjoyed it okay. I gave it 3.5 stars. In the end, I felt like the investigation itself, the way that the characters were going through this investigation to figure out what was happening when they like banded together to fight, to figure out who was killing everyone. I think that was very interesting, but the mystery itself, the resolution of the whole thing was very disappointing. It was very lacking excitement. It wasn't very interesting at all. So I was interested to see how the story would get to the end, but I didn't really care about the ending. I didn't care about what the answer would be, and it didn't really surprise me. It didn't give me anything in the end. But I feel like the character study here is really interesting, and I would want to see more of that. So I feel like it was too long for the mystery and investigation part, but that we could have seen more about these characters. And there are some important parts in this book that just go by super fast and it's not really mentioned afterwards. I don't know, it was a little bit disappointing, but also very interesting. I don't know if I would recommend. It really depends on what you like, the type of mystery thrillers that you like to read. So maybe, but not necessarily. That's my final recommendation for this book. That's it. Those were all the books that I read in November. Let me know if you've read any of them or if you're interested in reading any of them after what I said, or if you would recommend books for me based on what I liked and what I didn't like in these books. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for joining me.